is honestly one of the wildest forms of ruining your own life for attention on the internet that I've seen in a long time. And I know we have a bunch of runner-ups that we've covered recently here on this channel, but this one really takes the cake because this TikTok psychic just keeps making everything worse for herself every step of the way. For those of you who don't know who this TikTok psychic is, this whole story starts off last year with the sad story revolving the 4 Idaho students. While most people were stunned when they first heard this story, Ashley Gilliard, the self-proclaimed TikTok psychic and tarot card reader, she took this as a great opportunity to get a bunch of attention on the internet. And how did she do this? Well, she did this by doing tarot card readings of the victims and people who worked at the school. And through this, she concocted one of the wildest, most far-fetched stories ever, bringing in a random Idaho professor into the story. And in this wild concocted story, she claims that this professor had an ongoing relationship with one of the victims that went sour, and therefore she masterminded this whole thing. Now, with allegations like that, one would hope that she has some pretty concrete evidence, right? Nah, her source was literally, I made it up. And even though that was her source, that did not stop her from making hundreds of TikTok videos on this situation, racking up millions of views. And naturally, that got her into some hot water because this professor by the name of Rebecca Schofield sued her for $75,000. And that sent the TikTok psychic Ashley into one of the most wild self-destructing spirals I have ever seen.
About to put this demand letter Rebecca Schofield attorney sent me by tissue so I can wipe my with it.
She made that video after making hundreds of videos, racking up millions of views and gaining over 100,000 followers, essentially just defaming this professor. Some true Einstein-like behavior, but she kept doubling down.
Like, I have physical evidence against Rebecca Schofield that validates everything that I've said about her, but I can't speak on it now because it has to wait for court. So hopefully court doesn't take too long.
So with a response like that, you would hope that she has something very interesting to bring up into court, right? Well, we'll soon learn that that was not the case. But here are her last public responses to this case, starting off with her saying this lawsuit should have never happened.
And y'all need to stop asking me about this lawsuit. It should not even have been allowed, first of all, for multiple reasons, but for the legal reason was because it's the improper venue. Anybody with a little bit of sense knows I'm not an Idaho resident, so I should not be sued in the District of Idaho federal courts. Then they got the nerve to not allow pro se clients to e-file. Meanwhile, so her attorneys are e-filing documents. If I want to file a document, I got to fly to Idaho or mail it in and hope they get it. First of all, there needs to be some type of system that automatically declines lawsuits that are frivolous. Why would you sue a Texas resident in Idaho? It makes no sense. And they knew that with their over 20 years of experience practicing law. So I will file this motion to dismiss or whatever it is that I need to file, but I shouldn't have to do it. It should have automatically been rejected for improper venue. It's not fair and it's not cool.
So I don't know why she suddenly 180'd on this. I thought she was super hyped about this lawsuit, but maybe reality set in and she started to realize, oh, I could be liable for a lot here. But then she explained why she responded to the lawsuit.
And so when a case is filed in the wrong venue, you can file a motion to dismiss and have the case dismissed without filing an answer. But the reason why I didn't do that is because I was being defamed across the entire freaking United States of America and the world on the news media, and they were spreading misinformation, defamatory information about me. So I wanted to file an answer. I felt that it was an opportunity for me to present my case and the actions and claims that I had that were done against me by Rebecca Schofield and her attorneys. Additionally, it was an opportunity to, what I felt, explain why I said the things that I said regarding the of the 4 University of Idaho students and to help them get the evidence they need to back the things that I was saying. So if I would have filed a motion to dismiss, it would have just been dismissed without hearing my testimony, without hearing what I had to say regarding any of it.
And this grand response that she was hyping up here, the way she did it, in my opinion, is quite the odd way of doing it. She made a 40-minute YouTube video essentially doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. She went in. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense whatsoever. Why would she ever do this to herself? But her last public response was her essentially announcing that she was going to turn off all the comments.
I turned off the comments because most of them have no knowledge, no merit, lack in original thought, are evil, add absolutely no value to me or anyone reading it. And so therefore, it's no reason for me to give you an opportunity to speak.
So now we've caught ourselves up to what's been happening publicly, but there are quite a few things that have happened behind the scenes in the court docs. So from what I could find, this is Ashley's last response to the court. And this was a little bit over a month ago. And I guess before I read this document, to catch you guys up to speed what's been going on in court, Ashley originally missed the deadline to respond to this lawsuit. So she's now essentially tried to open a motion to reopen the Rebecca Schofield versus Ashley Gilliard civil action, which is why it opens here saying granting her relief from the default order and judgment pursuant to the federal rule of civil procedure. The grounds for this motion are set forth fully in the attached memorandum incorporated by the reference herein. And also, Ashley naturally is responding to this herself because she's representing herself in court. I hereby certify on this 14th day of February 2023, I mailed the foregoing and defendant's last known address. So this portion actually kind of catches us up to speed for what's been going on. Now, before the court is respondent, Ashley Gilliard's motion to reopen Rebecca Schofield versus Ashley Gilliard civil action, granting her relief from default order and judgment pursuant of the federal rule of civil procedure. Rebecca Schofield versus Ashley Gilliard in civil action, and the defendant Ashley Gilliard is in default of clerk's entry of default, was entered on January 27, 2023. Ashley Gilliard failed to plead or otherwise defend said action within the 21-day period as provided in federal rules of civil procedure Rule 12 due to excusable neglect and fraud, misconduct by opposing parties. Ashley Gilliard petitions for an extension time to respond to civil action. Ashley Gilliard included the motion's answer and counterclaim with the filing of this motion less than 30 days after the 21-day period within a reasonable time pursuant. Excusable neglect is grounds for the relief from the final judgment, order, or proceedings if granted by the court pursuant to FRCP Rule 60. Ashley Gilliard did not respond timely to civil action due to being overwhelmed with multiple civil actions and responsibilities. Civil action number was filed December 21st. During the time, Ashley Gilliard already had a civil action pending in the county civil court, Harris County, Texas. Ashley represented herself, pro se, solely conducted research, solely gathered evidence, and solely prepared for both trials. In that process, she made mistakes while learning how to prepare the answer, counterclaims, and motions. After nearly 40 pages of an answer and counterclaim, Ashley Gilliard had to redo it correctly. Ashley Gilliard was overwhelmed with family obligations. Ashley Gilliard is the custodial parent responsible for physically caring for her child while his dad is on military orders. If all of this is going on in her life, why is she making 100 TikTok videos slandering a random professor in Idaho? Like, this just doesn't make sense whatsoever. I think I said this in my last videos. I feel so bad for her kid because her reckless behavior here is definitely getting in the way for her raising that kid and how much they can afford in the future if she loses this case, which it's not looking too good for her yet. But moving on, it says Ashley Gilliard chose to support her family member during that time because there was no other family members to help. Additionally, Ashley Gilliard feared for her and her family's safety due to multiple attempts by someone trying to illegally enter her apartment. Fraud is grounds for relief of the final judgment, order, or proceedings if granted by the court pursuant. Attorney Rebecca Schofield made false statements about Ashley Gilliard in a press release that was disseminated worldwide and for the most of the major news outlets across America beginning late December 2022 and continuing into February 2023 with the intent to humiliate, embarrass, harass, and intimidate her for Rebecca Schofield's benefit. The false statements about Ashley Gilliard influenced further harassment and cyberbullying by thousands on Ashley Gilliard's social media channels, hateful messages to her emails, phones, and website, and the death threats from strangers. This caused Ashley Gilliard emotional distress, stress, and impeded her ability to work on the civil actions that she had pending efficiently. This is not an attack launched by Rebecca Schofield whatsoever. This is the internet looking at this case going, hey, why are you doing all of this, throwing all the allegations at this random Idaho professor with no evidence whatsoever other than tarot cards and I made it up. This is like shooting yourself in the foot and then blaming the gun manufacturer that you now have a hole in your foot. Attorney Wendy Olson filed a motion for entry of default on behalf of plaintiff Rebecca Schofield, requesting responses from Ashley Gilliard due February 9th. Attorney Wendy Olson did not serve Ashley Gilliard a copy of this motion. Ashley Gilliard does not have a copy of this motion and is unaware of the contents of this motion. Ashley Gilliard was made aware of this motion by her staff member of the court in a phone call she made to the United States District Court for the District of Idaho on February 10th. Ashley Gilliard battles with combat-related PTSD, which limits her ability to work and finish tasks when she's under an increased amount of stress. See, this is just a terrible situation. I mean, thank you for your service, but still, why are you doing all of this to put yourself in a situation like this when you're going through that? She was given so many outs for months on end, but instead she just kept doubling down, saying she was gonna wipe her butt with a lawsuit, and she was so hyped for the lawsuit, and here she's just essentially whining that the lawsuit's a thing. she was given a cease and desist. When the cease and desist came, all she had to do was make a public statement apologizing for everything, delete all the videos, and most likely she wouldn't have been sued. But here she is in this predicament. But moving on, her stress increased through the increased amount of responsibility being defamed in national news media, the hateful messages and comments towards her, harassment, and the threats of violence. It all collectively diminished her ability to efficiently handle all the responsibilities. Evidence for docket was submitted too late. Ashley Gilliard had to cease support for her family in the hospital. Her son's birthday celebration was postponed, and her response to civil action is late. Going forward, Ashley Gilliard will prioritize court rules, orders, and actions to file timely actions. A default judgment for the plaintiff will cause prejudice to the non-moving party. Defendant Ashley Gilliard, for multiple reasons, to include that the action was filed in the improper venue and by nature impedes upon the interest of justice pursuant to 28 USC. Ashley Gilliard is a resident of Texas, and the events giving rise to the claims of defamation took place on Ashley Gilliard's social media pages. For these reasons, Ashley Gilliard respectfully requests that the court grant this motion and relief requested, relief the entry of default, and allow defendant Ashley Gilliard to defend motion and plead civil action number blah 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 Rebecca Schofield versus Ashley Gilliard. So here she's saying that she's going to respond timely from now on regarding this court case. But sadly, it doesn't seem like that was the case whatsoever, because it seems like this was the last time she responded to all this. So that was the 7th, I guess, document filed into the court. Now we're on the 16th. So now essentially Rebecca Schofield's attorneys have just been sending in documents pinging this whole case with no response from Ashley Gilliard whatsoever. So it really seems like she's running from this case. But the most recent entry to this whole court case was on the 19th of April, where Rebecca Schofield's attorneys sent in this. On January 27, 2023, the clerk of the court filed an entry of default because defendant Ashley Gilliard failed to timely respond to plaintiff Rebecca Schofield's complaint. ECF 5, several weeks later, Gilliard attempted to file a motion for relief and untimely answer, which included improper counterclaims against Professor Schofield's attorneys, and in the motion for relief, Gilliard wrote, going forward, Ashley Gilliard will prioritize court rules, orders, and actions, and file timely actions. Gilliard has not honored her representation to the court since Gilliard represented that she would file timely actions. Professor Schofield has opposed Gilliard's motion for relief and filed a motion for default judgment and a motion to strike, ECF 10-12. The deadlines for Gilliard to file her response briefing have long passed. Gilliard has thus failed to comply with local rule that failure may be deemed to constitute a consent to the sustaining of said pleading, the granting of said motion, or other application. Local Rule 7.1, that is, Gilliard's failure to submit timely briefing provides an additional reason of why the court should deny her motion for relief and grant Professor Schofield's motion for default judgment and motion to strike. So this was 2 weeks ago, and from what I can see as of recording this video, Ashley Gilliard has still not responded to this. So that's not really looking good for her at all. I don't know why she would be fleeing this case, especially going into this whole court case on her high horse. But in an insane twist of events, with the main court case which started all of this regarding the 4 university students of Idaho, the accused perpetrator's legal team has now subpoenaed one of the survivors, claiming that she could testify and exonerate him. So if that actually happens, that would be one thing that she was right on, and then like 9,000 things she was completely wrong on. So I guess if you just blindly shoot enough in the dark, you might hit something, and that might be the case. But if you want the full story of this TikTok psychic, I'll link the playlist here. And if you want something a little bit more lighthearted, you have this guy who had dedicated his entire life to his anime waifu here. So you should check that out, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.